We back.
Boom.
What's
Let's
going
go.
on, people? Fresh energy, fresh pod for your head top. What's going on? Right, so today we are joined by someone who truly lives and breathes creativity. The man that is Rob Johnston. He's a photographer.
What's up, boys?
He's a photographer, designer, DJ, and the host of the most brilliant podcast, Meet the Creatives, where I first heard about you, Rob. You've interviewed some of the biggest names in design and the branding world. You're about inspiring conversations, genuine connections, and doing up creative work that actually means something. So again, Rob, big up, broski. Welcome to the What Does Your Mum Think podcast.
Big up, let's do it, baby. I'm excited, and from the moment I met you, sir, I was like, I gotta lock in with this guy. And when I heard you on a podcast, I was thrilled for it. So thank you, boys, for having me, and I'm grateful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, bro. It's mad. It's a full 360, Michael, innit? Because we both used to listen to Meet the Creatives, lad, and still do, obviously, today, you know what I mean? And to have you on this now is crazy, bro. So, and I've not even told you that, do you know what I mean, properly, but it's a full 360 moment, this.
That's crazy to me because, like, I have such imposter syndrome, and it wasn't until, like, the podcast started, like, in 2016, 17, and I was sort of just, like, getting out and getting, you know, definitely, like, getting over, like, my over my head with the guests that I was pulling in, but like the numbers, they were just like kind of abstract numbers. And, you know, now when I have the younger generation tell me, relatively speaking to me, but the younger generation say they listen to the podcast, it's like, oh, wow, these are real people. So it's super rewarding to hear that. So,
oh yeah, dude, we've been fans from day one, bro.
I tell myself that they're all bots and stuff like that. So yeah.
Definitely not. Right. Listen, we're going to kick things off with a quick fire round. One word answers. Just to get warm up the old cockles, as they say in England.
I like that,
right.
I
think. Right, boom. One word for what drives you.
Spite.
Spite.
No. I guess my daughter, Belle, her name is.
Love it.
One word to describe your style.
Energetic.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
One word that I love it. One word that sums up Meet the Creatives.
Scrappy. I'm locked in, bro. My vocabulary is good. For somebody who doesn't read, I have a great vocabulary.
One word that sparks your inspiration.
My inspiration. That's an interesting question. It sparks my inspiration. I'm trying to think of how I would answer that. Oh no, I'm off to a rough start already. What sparks my imagination? I think anything that excites me. That I know it's more than one word, but that starts. We'll just keep going. We'll roll through it. Let's roll.
Listen, lad, this isn't you, Rob. This is our fault that this falls down, not you, mate. Do you know what I mean? You can put this back on us.
I was doing so good, I got cocky. And I was like, yeah.
It's not. This is great. Like, this is it. Do you know what I mean? Scrappy, bro.
Scrappy was good. That was
Bob. One word for what's next.
One word for what's next. Everything.
Everything. Love it, lad. Say no
Back
more.
in, locked in. Let's do it.
Yeah, we're good, bro. Right, sick. So we're going to take you through 4 stages of Rob Johnston, right? So stage 1.
Yes.
Designers. We're going to take you through. So stage 1 is going to be about growing up and like your early creative sparks. So take us back, Rob. What kind of kid was you? What did you like to do as a kid? Were you a creative kid in school? Was you doodling on notebooks? What were you like in school?
Sure. So at the risk of repeating the same story on every podcast, so I've always had a crazy imagination since I was a kid. This is kind of crazy. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with it because it's like from the States or whatever, but there's the movie Tim Allen's The Santa Claus. I love that movie so much when I was a kid. And it kind of just like sparked my imagination to recall back already. And I just love that movie, and I love spending time in the basement. I always had like my Hot Wheels and all this different stuff. I was always very creative, and I saw that movie, and I could so relate to the characters' like imagination in that. And then, so I would go down into my parents' basement, and I would like use whatever was there. So they had all this Christmas stuff, and I always just loved sort of like transforming things and like using my imagination. And I just had like a crazy people be like, wow, like how did this kid come up with that? So I turned my parents' basement into the North Pole, and I dressed up like Santa Claus. And I I did like a whole like little Christmas. And my parents just came downstairs like, what the fuck is going on? And so yeah, I mean that was kind of it. And then like when I would always just like whatever I would see when I was a kid, I would get really into it. Like I saw the Titanic, and I took about like like computer paper. I took about like 4 packs of computer paper and made like the biggest scale version of the Titanic that I could possibly make out of paper. There was like deck chairs and everything. That's the baby over there. And so my whole life really has been sort of just trying to be as creative as possible with what I had around. And when I was a little kid, it's in many ways the person that I am today is sort of a full return to that person I was when I was like when I was a little kid. I hope that answered your question. I'm not sure.
That's great.
That was really good, Rob. That was really good. And at what point, when you was building those sets in the basement, did you realize that, I'm a creative person and maybe I could do something with this? Maybe I could go to school and study design, or go to college, or when did you realize that you had something more than just a weird obsession?
Sure. Yeah. Weird. No, we've
all got weird obsessions.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think that it was always like really positively encouraged, and I think that in my heart I've always been sort of like I love to perform. I think that given the right circumstances, I could have killed it as like being like a theater kid. You know what I mean? That was sort of like discouraged or whatever by like my family, but like for whatever reason we won't get onto today. But it was always just like that was the thing that sort of got attention, and I always like wanted. And I talked about this in the book for the New York Design Club and the Ottawa Design Club. I talked about sort of like that need for validation and to get on people's radar. So when I did these things, it always got a positive response. And then I was in high school, and I learned about Photoshop with my first teacher, Mr. Karen. And and what's so crazy is like I graduated from high school like in 2009, and that was like 2007. So I feel really fortunate that I had sort of like from an art standpoint, a relatively like progressive school, like for a high school especially. So and whenever I would be creative or I'd perform and get in front of people, that was always like that was the one time like I wasn't in trouble. And I wasn't a great student, and I wasn't sort of like academic, but when it came to garnering attention, getting up in front of a crowd full of people, and being creative like with Photoshop and stuff like that, the response throughout my entire life was always kind of the same. It's like, hey, you'd be really good at this if you were to just apply yourself and become more focused. So I really tried. I heard that, and then when I went to college, I was, that's sort of where like Meet the Creative started, was all throughout my life, just sort of being encouraged for that creativity. And then all of a sudden you're faced with like, well, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? And so I knew it had to be something creative. And now it's kind of become just a hodgepodge of everything all together. So, yeah.
What did you study exactly?
So I went to school for communication, like visual communication design and branding. And it's weird because I should also add to it too that I'm very musical. So I played guitar from the time that I was like 16. And all these things at the time seemed so disjointed, and now they all kind of came together. So originally I thought about going to school for music, and then I met my wife and I saw like what real musicians are like. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that. So I went for visual communication design because I always loved, from a very young age, I've always loved branding and sort of kind of like pentagram-esque work, if you will, like those big, exhibits and stuff like that. So I went to school for visual communication design. Originally, I wanted to go for marketing, but I realized that was a little bit more like math oriented, and that really wasn't my skill set. So I just wanted to, for whatever reason, but again, it's like, it's always been about like getting that attention, seeking that validation, which we could talk about later. As I'm older, I look at it sort of differently, but I just wanted to, be like Don Draper from Mad Men and just have a big billboard, and I would just point to everyone and be like, "See that? That's me right there. I'm legit." That's good. Shout out the Beatles. We got the Beatles back there. I hope that's okay.
Oh, big up the Beatles.
Yeah.
You mentioned the teacher obviously introduced Photoshop. Was there anyone else other than that teacher, a friend maybe, or even a moment, Rob, that kind of pushed you towards design or photography during uni, or even out of uni, coming out of them?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, throughout my life, I really was around. I think about early on, I had the choir director of my church, this guy Harley Strife, really kind of encouraged my creativity, and he was really one of the first people that saw that. And when he passed, I was actually like devastated, like I had lost like a parent or something like that. I didn't even like really realize that. He was one of the first people to do that, and then all throughout college, there's like several people to name, but like my professor Mike Scherb, who I'm still friends with to this day. We go to Panera Bread together. It's phenomenal. And to this day, I'm 34. We still hang out. And I've had these professors who have really done a lot. Stuart Weinstock, my film professor, and throughout I've always sort of been someone who seeks out advice. I always wanted to have. I remember one time I was on like a family vacation, and I learned about the term like a mentor, and I was like, I need mentors. And it was so weird. I was in like 5th grade when that happened. So yeah, I've had so many people throughout the course of my life, and I also do. I know this is all over the place, but I also am a wedding DJ, and I do a lot of like private high-end corporate events and stuff like that. And the list of guys from that is really long, and they've been like uncle, father type figures to me. I don't want to piss anybody off, so I don't want to name names, but there have been a lot of really great mentors. And I rely heavily on asking people for help. I think that's something that not a lot of people do. And I'm really grateful, but I also would say to people, like, if you don't ask, you're never going to know. And I've always been really keen on like, hey, like, how do I get to where you are, and sort of having the humility, because I saw a lot of examples of my life in people who didn't confide in people and just thought that they could do it the best. So I've always tried to be humble and tried to soak up as much as I can. And I don't know, I might be jumping the gun a little bit here, but I would sooner be a number 4 in a company where I idolize the guys I work for than to do it on my own and like think you're the shit and really like it's like you're not having the humility to learn and grow from the people. So the list of mentors and people that have inspired me and helped me get to the place I'm at now is exponential, and I take I take some of the credit, but there have been a lot of people who have really helped me to get my shit together. Miss DiStefano, my first resource teacher, resource room teacher, which is like I had extra time and shit in school, so she helped me. I just did her son's wedding recently, so it's kind of cool. Lots of full circles in my story.
Yeah, nice. So moving into stage 2, Michael.
Michael, come on. He's coming in from China. Come on. Yeah.
You're picking this up. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You didn't go off track at all, Rob. Actually, you lined us up perfectly for our next question. It's almost like you've done podcasting before. So getting into stage 2, the creative mix. So you're a photographer, a designer, a DJ. I guess you do so many different things, and again, like you spoke to so many different mentors, which I guess guided you on all these different journeys. But like, which one came first? And I guess like, how did you work out like which one you could monetize and like what paths to go down? I think this is really interesting. You've got so many different ways you can go.
For sure. Don't worry, I get asked this question actually like all the time from people because they try and like make sense. It's just me at Thanksgiving with like some boomer uncle who's like, wait a minute, slow down, and I have to explain. So I'm actually pretty good at doing this. I'll give you the trajectory. All right, here we go. Speed round. So we have like early days. I was like, like in the basement trying to do like my Christmas stuff. I also did. I need to make sure I get this on the thing. So when the Christmas decorations were upstairs, I would also sort of turn it in. I would line up my little Matchbox cars and I would turn it into like the Peter Pan ride, and I would like ride my little big wheel around. So that's like early childhood. By the way, I got an interview. I got the VP of Parks and Resorts from Disney just based off that story. So here we go, ADHD. Nice. So that's like the early days. Then we got into music. I started like singing in the choir. Then I got a guitar, and then I was like, this sort of like the John Mayer type character. I started doing like open mics and stuff like that. That was like 14 to onward. I still play guitar, not so much these days, but. And then the DJing thing sort of happened by accident. So that was I filled in for somebody. They needed a DJ last minute. I had a PA system from doing my little John Mayer type shtick. And then they gave me, and I was 21 at the time. And at the end of the night, they gave me $200 cash, which might as well have been like $2,000 at the time. And then I was like, oh, I gotta pay my tab. And they're like, oh, DJs drink for free. And everyone thinks I'm trying to be funny about it. But that's real. I mean, imagine being 21, $200 cash, DJs drink for free. We'll see you at the pub next week. So I was like, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. That's how you end up in AA. jumping again. And then that was like when I was like 18, 19, I started, when I was like 21, I did that. That was during college. And then I got into so I went to community college. And then when I went to finish my last 2 years of school, university, as you guys say, then I got into the design world. And then I did mostly just that, like what you guys are doing, just kind of like grinding it out, like in the city, trying to like network and stuff like that, and growing the podcast. And I really had come I was doing DJing stuff, but I didn't think it would be like a full-time thing. And then again, like I just was mentored by some great guys who really put me in positions to win and taught me about, communication. And, I think that so many people are encouraged to pick a lane, to do one thing. And you hear about that all the time. Jack of all trades, master of none. I prefer more of like a yes and approach. And so I used to sort of be a little bit cagey and weird about like, I can't let my designer friends know that I'm also like this like New Jersey wedding DJ with a fade type vibe. So I would always kind of have them in different buckets, and and I would almost feel like weird and guilty about it. And it was very liberating. And I found through the therapy and through everything else that it's like, well, why not? They would just ask me that question. I wouldn't be able to articulate it or answer it. So now I take great pride in being able to sort of infuse all of those things together. And there's a cross section, and there's, they all relate to each other. Like navigating like the high end, like private event industry has helped me to navigate, dealing with the interpersonal skills and stuff like that when I'm DJing with my clients, and like navigating expectations. It's all like sort of in the name of like communication and creativity. So in many ways I picked like the perfect major to sort of put everything together.
Yeah, nice. You kind of started answering the next prompt.
Sorry, I do that. I'm so sorry.
No, it's great. No, it's great, because the next question we had, like leading off that, was, do you find that these three avenues fight for attention, but they seem to naturally inspire each other in their own rights, right?
Yeah, I try to do it like I do feel that sometimes. There are times that I wonder, sometimes when I'm driving home from like a wedding, say like the Jersey Shore. So I'm just for some context for people that are listening. Like I live in Bergen County, New Jersey, which is about an hour outside New York City. But there'll be times I'll be like driving back from the Jersey Shore after like a wedding or something like that, and I just I long for the days where I was like in Manhattan working in Rockefeller Center and stuff like that. And they do kind of get like disjointed, and it's hard to kind of like get them all together, or like, is one suffering or whatever. But the way that I combat that is just putting my best foot forward in everything that I do, and putting the proper intention out there. And yeah. Wait, what was your question again? I just want to make sure I'm answering your question.
No, you answered it. Like, do you find that the three subjects kind of fight for your attention? Yeah, for sure. I mean, the perfect example is like you were at the live event for with Collins, which I'm still fired up. Shout out to Caroline and everyone. But I did that back like in like April, May, and I've been so busy with DJing. The DJing has really taken off. Like, I feel like it's probably the thing I'm like naturally the best at is DJing. And I still haven't got a chance to really edit that podcast and give it a fair shake like I would want to. And then sort of, now having a kid and trying to navigate that space, there definitely feels like there's not enough time in the day. But I can't emphasize enough the importance of mental health and learning to be a little bit kinder and softer with myself. I used to be so relentless about these things, but in my mind, as long as I'm able to, pay for my car payment, make sure that we have food on the table, I try and keep it in that place, because, I think that when I was younger, like 27-year-old Rob, like like Christian, I see so much of myself with and you in that regard. It's like that absolute blind hustle and ambition and stuff like that. As I've gotten a little bit older, I'm okay with, just being at a dope ass wedding, and like, I'm at the chocolate fondue thing with like my little, marshmallow underneath it. Like, whatever, it's not that bad. It's I try and keep perspective. I don't work in a coal mine, you know what I mean? Shout out to the coal miners stuff. So,
just on all those, again, all those different ways of creating income to now support your family, how have you found this balance of being like, okay, I'm going to do a bit of this, I'm going to do a bit of that? How does your week or month even turn out?
For sure. I try and do the things that will generate the most money the quickest. And that's one of the reasons why I kind of got into like the wedding space. And I feel like when you say like a wedding DJ, people immediately think of like the wedding singer or whatever. But It's not like that. It definitely is like what you picture when you picture like people like fist bumping and there being a whole bunch of like sparks and a whole bunch of like Jersey sort of like chutzpah on it. That is real. That is like what it is. So, but those can be very lucrative. They're sort of you have to spend a lot of time working with the clients and managing expectations, stuff like that. But those are really good. So I try to focus on that as much as I can. The design world is great. And I've gotten some really great, like freelance paychecks and stuff over the years like that. But, I really feel it's weird to have a podcast about like the design space and about like landing a job and stuff like that. When that's not like my primary thing. So I try and like leave it to the experts to comment on that. But I usually try and have it be I sort of lead with the things that are the most lucrative, just from like, and once you have a kid, that's like no longer an option. So I used to be like, you know what, like I'm going to use this time to be creative and just like smoke weed and like walk around the park and sort of just like crash out for a while and then like reevaluate. Once you have a kid, that's no longer an option. So I really try and do things that are lucrative and make money, and then sort of what's the nice to have sort of thing versus like a need to have. So for example, like with Caroline and with the book and the live event and stuff like that, that was at a time where I was sort of able to pull that off. So I sort of just, whatever makes ends meet, but I sort of just have a deal with myself that it's all in the name of creativity. I just really want to have it. I had a lot of experiences working in the restaurant industry and working, in underappreciated jobs. It's like, I don't care what I do. I just want to make sure that I'm fulfilled and I'm not taking anyone's shit. And it used to be like, oh, I'll show them and I'll be combative and it's like, I'll hold my own. Now I sort of just like, will just remove myself from the situation and go on to greener pastures. So that's cool. Okay. Greener pastures, I don't know where I got that from, but I think it makes sense.
Okay, great. Nice one. Right. So moving into stage 3.
I'm on like no sleep. I just want to say for the record, I'm on no sleep, people, but I'm here. I'm not.
How old is your little one?
She's 10 months and she's having a sleep regression. So I claim nothing that I said today. The good, as Trump would say, the good things I take credit for, and the bad things I don't. Not a Trump.
Jesus Christ! I seen all the.
I voted for Kamala. I voted for. Let the record show.
I seen all the protesting yesterday when going through Manhattan. Madness.
I know
some of the signs are so cool, like so creative, fucking genius.
For my international audience, I apologize very much so about our dear leader, and I'll keep it at that. Yeah, that's good.
It's all a bit mad, but right. Yeah. So moving into stage 3, meet the creatives, the origin story, right? So this we want to want to understand how the sausage was made, Rob. You know what I'm saying, bro?
Yeah.
Right. So, where did the original idea kind of stem from? Like, what was the catalyst for actually starting a podcast? Because it's a lot, and the reason we asked this question is when we came up with the idea for What Does Your Mum Think? We sat on it for a year. We went around the houses trying to come up with a name. That was a fucking job in itself. Then we landed the name. Then we did the logo, and then we was like, right, what do we do? We had all these things, and it, like I said, we sat on it for ages. And when we first put the first episode out there, I think I speak for both of me and Michael. We both crawled under our desk and just got into a fetal position. And we were just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Horrible.
So what was your experience like?
Oh man. Well, I'm grateful that I don't have to try and tie all these things together. It's sort of as someone with ADHD, it's sort of like scary when it's like, how do all these different ideas correspond? Sure. So now I can be on the sort of the one track of being creative. So
Sure.
what you're explaining was my experience exactly. And I had so I was in college. I got pulled in by my dean, and I wrote about this in the Ottawa and the New York Design Club and the book Pivotal Moments. Oh my God! I just realized that I've officially turned into the guy who quotes his own books. Ugh, that's disgusting. Okay, but in that book, I talk about I had a meeting with my dean, and I feel like I just publicly want to state here that he was a really nice guy. I don't think that I gave the proper context in the book. He meant well, and I had it coming. So like everyone's like, "Oh man, you really showed your dean." I'm like, that's not what I meant to say. So he pulled me into his office and was like, do you even want to be a designer? And I, at the time, had a lot going on in my life. I was drinking and, just distracted or whatever. But I did have a love for design. I was sort of, this meant something different when I went to college, but I was sort of like early days of like Joe Rogan. This is way before any of like the political shit. And I found like Joe Rogan, and then I was like, I gotta find, I'm going to school for design. I gotta find someone. So I looked up and I found Debbie Millman. And so behind the scenes, I was like looking at websites of like columns and pentagrams and falling in love with design. And then it was like so weird to just like, be in this sort of like high, like daze phase. And the dean is like, yo, like you're failing like all your classes. Like, what are you doing here? And I was like, like what am I doing here? So it sucked, but he was like, yeah, I mean, all right, well, if you want to keep coming to school. And I was like, oh my God, I have to like prove him and prove my parents and everybody else. I have to, I don't want this all to be in vain, and so I started doing like online learning courses and stuff like that, which at the time was lynda.com, which is now LinkedIn Learning. It was so much like cozier and more cute and liberal back then, but whatever.
God, do you remember that, Michael? Do you remember lynda.com, Mike?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
mad. No way.
And it was cozy. Yeah. It was cozy.
Way. Yeah.
And so I started doing that and taking classes from Sean Adams, was one of the first people I found. He did like the Nickelodeon Splat logo. And if you remember one thing from this podcast, and I've said this on every media opportunity that I've ever had. If you remember one thing today, it's go take Sean Adams classes on LinkedIn Learning. It's just he's the forgive me for not getting the proper verbiage here, but like the head of design at Art Center College, which is like one of the best design schools here in the States. And I mean, it's crazy. You're getting an education from a guy who is like one of the most, esteemed designers in the world. He's your favorite designer's favorite designer is what I would say. Mm-hmm. He did like the Nickelodeon Splat logo, Nick at Night, a whole bunch of other things, worked for like the Academy and everything like that. So I did that. And so I'm at school, I'm trying to turn my grades around, trying to get my act together. And I was like, I have to start something. And I almost kind of had like the opposite thing of you guys, where I was so convinced that no one was going to listen that I was like, this is sort of going to be very similar to me, like full circle, like playing in the basement. Like no one's going to see this. No one will care. Maybe I'll get the validation. If I do, then I'll be, then I'll be a real boy or whatever. And so I started taking these classes and I'm like, I feel like I'd be like best friends with this guy. So at the time I was listening to Debbie Millman, listening to Joe Rogan. And I was like, all right, I'm going to start my own podcast and just like see if it works. I just wanted to do it. And I've always been enamored by like production. Like when I was a kid, I would go see the Today Show in New York City in Rockefeller Center. And so like my early idols were like, these people who worked at just that cool demeanor with a good suit and the interview and just like hitting the mark with the earpiece in kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I want to be that guy. It's a very like New York way of thinking. So I had Sean Adams, I reached out to him and it was one of those things. I was probably just like drunk, like on my rooftop, like what's up? Hope all is well in your world. Like this big, long, verbose email that was like awkward and clunky. Love the classes. And I messaged him and like the next day I woke up like hungover and he was like, hey Rob, like this sounds great. Like, let's do it. And I was like, oh, fuck. So I had him on, and this was like pre-COVID. So it's like 2016, 2017. This is
first guest this year. Nice.
Was Sean Adams,
wow. Yeah, nice.
The guy from lynda.com. So he's gonna like follow a restraining order on me at this point. He doesn't even know he's in the book. I was so like I talk about him so much that I didn't even tell him, Sean, if you're seeing this, bro, you're in the book. And so that went really well, and he was super like verbose and chill and kind of cool. He sort of has this like a cool California uncle kind of thing, like the kind of guy like you just want to like get like a bottle of wine and just like hang out with him and like learn all about his story. Like he's the man. So and so that I did that, and it went, and he talked so much that I was like, this is great. Like I'm the man at this. I'm so good. And over time, there were people who like didn't talk as much, and I was like, oh shit, I really need to learn how to like ask stuff, because some people would have like one word answers or whatever. So I took that early momentum of Sean Adams and I turned that into, all right, well, like, let's see if I can get Debbie Millman. And I got Debbie Millman. And like, let's see if I can get Michael Bierut. And I sort of just had that early success. So I really do credit sort of the New York design bourgeoisie for accepting me into their into their homes via Skype at the time. It wasn't even Zoom. And I started kind of building momentum from there. And but same thing as you guys, just the name actually comes from Meet the Creatives was from Tobias Van Schneider. He had Nice to Meet You, and I was like, oh, I guess I'll do like something kind of similar. So that's good. Tobias, don't sue me. I have no money, and I was a young man at the time. And I kind of just went from there and built it, and a lot of trial and error. But I'll let you guys lead with the questions. But that's sort of like how it came to be, and I sort of just wrote it out from there. And I still like when I like go out to events in like Williamsburg, and people are like, oh my God, you're Rob Johnston from Meet the Creatives?
That's what I was like, dude. That's what I was like when I walked into Collins that day and I sat down with Brian, and I'm like, no way, like Rob, like what's going on, bro? And I'm 101 in questioning Rob Michael. Do you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, he's setting up for this live podcast, and I'm just blagging his head. Do you know what I mean? Firing questions at him. Amazing.
Well, for what it's worth, though. Good.
Go, Rob. You go.
I was just gonna say that for what it's worth, everyone goes through that. I was the same way, and you could ask these guys. Oh man, I wish that like we could sort of just like Neuralink them in here to this. But like, if you were to ask, and then we all kind of laugh about it now, but I thought the same way about being in rooms with like Leland Mashmeyer and Tom Wilder and stuff like that. I mean, I'd be there. I'd be like, oh my God, like, and they have no idea who I am. But I'm like, oh my God, that's Leland Mashmeyer. He worked on Chobani, you know, and like those kind of like things or whatever. So that's totally natural and normal. And I would encourage anyone in those moments to go say hello. People are a lot nicer than you.
Oh, definitely 100%. Listen, lad, I always sit in them rooms thinking everyone is gonna know who I am. Yeah, you know, and that's how in the most kind of like in the most kind of, you know, humble, positive way you can say it. I just really, you know, I really believe in myself and what I'm doing and what I'm pushing.
Go ahead, Michael. Though I don't want to cut you off, Michael. I'm sorry.
No worries. Well, just on that, I think again, like the easiest way to let everybody know who you are is just fucking open your mouth. I think like a lot of us have a bad, maybe not you two guys, but I think a lot of people in the world have an issue with that. Where I was going to go next is I don't know if this is a British thing versus American thing, but I think the thing that was holding me and Christian back for such a long time was this feeling that we're not established enough. Like nobody knows who we are. Like we want to reach out to all these amazing people, like the people that you reached out to. You just fucking reached out to, so I'm not supposed to swear. I get in trouble from Christian. You just reached out straight away. Like you went in for the Trailblazers straight away, and we were like, look, let's see how this goes. Let's contact a few of our friends who are amazing creatives, but nobody will probably even know that this is happening. We'll put them on YouTube. Like if somebody sees them, then cool. But if nobody sees them, like we're sort of fine with that, and we can just cringe within ourselves. What do you think sets you apart from that? Because like you had this idea and you just ran with it. Like you for us, we felt we needed to be at the elitist levels. Like maybe we should be doing this when we're like 60 and we've done it all, and we're like, okay, now we can do this. Now we're established. But yeah, like we've learned that we've just got to do it. But you seem like you've got something different about you. Like, where did that come from?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I got an answer for this. I know that like you think you're I could tell you sort of like how do I land? I'm telling you, I hear exactly what you're saying, and there's one word. Going back to one word, the word that I would use is intent. And I was just thinking about this last night. Stick with me. This has to do with what you just asked me. So in the high-end event industry, you deal with like the most preposterous egos. Like this would make like designers, like you think that like New York designers have like egos to navigate? Like imagine like fucking Broadway. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. I'm sorry, Christian, about the cursing. I apologize.
You good, bro.
Do I get the curse?
No, it's the algorithm on YouTube. I don't think it does well when you swear. I read somewhere about it, so I'm trying to...
You can believe it. You're right. No, you're good.
I'll bleep it.
Yeah. So navigating egos, right? Like we're talking about... And again, like Broadway... It doesn't matter. Broadway design, these things, they all correlate. They all kind of like cross-pollinate, if you will. Intent. So I went yesterday. This is an example of like what I'm talking about. I went to this place where they filmed Mrs. Maisel there. The Godfather was filmed in this room. It's like big league, major league, you know, kind of stuff. It's the real deal. And there was a guy who was working there who was running the event like that. And it was a high stress thing. And I, you know, like they just wanted to be like a certain kind of way. And I know that my intent is to do the right thing. So like, I always sort of like control the variables, right? Like I'm on time, I'm dressed wearing what I'm supposed to kind of thing. And then it's just like navigating this intent. And sometimes what you can do in those moments, it's like people take things as like a perceived like slight, like you send an email to someone and they don't respond. Or in the case of like last night, it's like, hey, like you can't do that thing. I can't have you standing there. We cannot have this. And he just like goes off, right? The way I live my life with this kind of stuff and meeting people and being in these environments where I feel like I'm sort of like over my head is like being very mindful. Like my intent is good. I am here. I am in the moment. And I will then reset the intent. So the average person gets into that environment and goes, oh, this guy, you know, who the fuck does he think he is? I put my pants on them just like everybody else kind of thing, whatever. But what I do is like, I understand he's stressed out. I have empathy for him. And I know my intent is good. So when he comes back around, I know where I'm at. And he could be wherever he wants to be. He could be like all anxious. And when he came back around, you know, I talked to him. I like dapped him up and gave him like a good thing or whatever. And I just I know where my heart is at all times. And I don't take things personally. And that's one of the hardest things to do. So when it comes time to send an email, so tying it back like with Meet the Creatives and stuff like that, so many people are like, oh, it's always been my dream job to work here. I've always done this. And your intent is like more than it should be. It's not coming from a place of like of real vulnerability or about a real meaning. It's just like, how can I better serve my own needs? It's a lot of times what you see. Or it's like somebody who's just entering school or just entering the field. It's like, Brian Collins, I know all about your work on this thing. I know all about your work on this thing, and I need this thing. What I encourage people to do is with your intent is let people know, and we talked about this a little bit on the rapid fire questions on Instagram. It's like you have to tell people, you have to let people know from a very real place. And people at a high level, especially who have great interpersonal skills, like a Brian Collins type character, Leland Mashmeyer, just to use some Collins examples, like they can see through all the different stuff. They're further on down the road. They're smarter than you. You know, they make more money than you. They're chilling. Their healthcare is better. The whole 9 yards. They know how to navigate people's intentions, and it's really easy. Like I can feel it. Like I love when people are like, "Oh, a huge fan of the show." It's like, no, the fuck you're not. Like I look at every single Instagram view of everyone ever who looks at anything. So if you're like, "Oh man, like huge fan of the show," like I know you're not. This is where the intent comes in. You need to have the intention of telling them the truth. So for example, like I'm booking guests for Meet the Creatives, and my daughter loves Sesame Street, and there's somebody on Sesame Street. I can't really talk about it yet, like for, you know, we have to line everything up. But my daughter loves this girl on Sesame Street, and I wrote her, and I was like, hey, like I know I just added you on Instagram, and this seems like it's coming out of the woodwork, but like I have a 10-month-old daughter at home, and like I was so freaked out when she was born, and I put on Sesame Street, and you were there, and it was so awesome, and it's like, I don't know, like you make me like so happy, and you're a big part of our day. It'd be so cool to have you on Meet the Creatives. That girl got back right away, is coming on the show. She's on Sesame Street on like she's like in between Bert and Ernie for like, like Rubber Ducky, you're the one. She's like the girl who's like in between kind of thing. But again, like the intent is there. And that really is how to navigate meeting people and stuff like that, and breaking down those walls, because it's like the truth is what will get you into the rooms, not sort of this transactional nature of things. So even if you're like, oh man, like I went into this interview at this place I really want to work at, and I talked too much, or I did too, or I overstepped or whatever. I think people, all this to say, really underestimate the value of like how you show up, the vibe that you bring to the function, and just having sort of like the right intent. People can tell, especially smart people, the kind of people that you want to work for. Chop that up in the edit, but there's something good in there, I know.
Nah, that is really good, and it's really great to hear,
That's gold.
Yeah, that really is.
A little long-winded, boys. Sorry, boys.
No, it's great. Did you? What I'd be interested in, like me and Michael are constantly trying to identify somewhat of a. We know what we're doing and stuff like that, but like always trying to get it down to just one word. Do you feel like you identified like a mission statement for Meet the Creatives from the beginning, or do you feel like after the season went on, it was kind of like easier for you to identify the mission, if that makes sense?
Sure. So I actually did have that. So initially, and to tie it in with the story with the dean before, I sort of just did it just to prove everyone that I was legit or whatever.
Yeah,
And then as time progressed, I could sort of feel that it felt a little bit like rudderless. It felt a little bit like it needed some sort of guidance and direction. So I took Debbie Millman's class. I called A Brand Called You on Creative Live, which was a great class. And I had Chase Jarvis on the podcast. Again, told him about what it meant and how my podcast didn't really have like, I don't want to get too all over the place, but Chase Jarvis, I told this story to the guy. So Creative Live is like the class where I took it. And then after the fact, I told him about it. And then he came on the podcast too, just to show that that works. But one of the goals for the class was to create a mission statement for your thing. And it was Meet the Creatives seeks to bridge the gap between entry-level creatives and the industry's best is what I came up with. And again, it's like all of a sudden, like there's intent again, right?
Yes,
now there's an intention. Now I am facilitating, not just. And again, it's so weird. It's like from that moment, and like that's like the word of the day. Like we're talking about Sesame Street. That's like the word of the day is intent. Before that, it was all self-serving, right? It's like, oh, I love Nickelodeon. I love this thing. It's all about me.
Yeah.
Once I started to facilitate, that's when things kind of changed, and it was good from there. So Meet the Creatives seeks to bridge the gap between entry-level creatives and the industry's best. And I sort of like worked out that thesis for a couple years. And then I went out to San Francisco and I walked past the Creative Lives office and I was like, you know what? I'm going to email that guy. And Chase Jarvis was another major get for the podcast. But again, it's like, I wasn't like, yo, bro, love Chase, you're the fucking man. It was like, hey, like you gave me purpose and direction in my life. And I'm really grateful for it. And if you want to, I have 45 minutes of your time, sir. We could have a great podcast. And my friends were like, how did you get Chase Jarvis is huge here in America. So that's good.
Amazing. Oh, that's great to
Rob,
hear.
That's insane.
Rob.
There's so many links to the conversations me and Christian have. And when we started this, there's definitely a level of selfishness of you get to go to these design talks, but with a podcast, you get to be sat on the front row and you just get to keep putting your hand up and go, Rob, what about this? And, oh, Rob, can I just ask this a second? And how did this happen?
Yeah.
And that's a really beautiful thing. But one thing that we realized, again, the word that you just said then is facilitator. And we were like, we could be the facilitators of good design. But then something as well, which we really love about your podcast is that it's so, I know it's Meet the Creatives, but like you really do expand to like any creative field. Again, just speaking about reaching out to the person at Sesame Street, it's like you can expand it to wherever you want. And I think, I know we spoke about good design, facilitators of good design, but I think again, like we're so open that we'd love to speak to people in the music industry, like rappers and artists that we both admire, and it could be a bloody UFC fighters. We think that fighting's so artistic and strategic. There's so many different ways, and 100%. I also never want to close that gap. But yeah, I find super resonate with everything that you just said, then, Rob, and I'm sure you do as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, really good.
Yes, broski, what's good?
Lad, I'm just doing my big shop in China. Check out how crazy all this packaging is.
Yo, mad thing. I'm just doing a big shot too. Check out all this sick packaging.
Do you know what? There should be a design ceremony or something like that for all this sick packaging.
What, lad? Have you never heard of the Dieline Packaging Awards?
Ah?
Oh, lad, entries are now open for 2026. Don't sleep on it. Get the recognition you deserve for all you and your team's hard work.
Oh yeah, man, nice. Is it expensive to enter?
They switched up the pricing this year so more people can enter. Solo designers, agencies and students, prices vary.
Can you hit me up with a link?
Yeah, bro. Check out dielineawards.com/race-deadlines.
Yeah, man. Sick. Peace.
Pulling it right back.
Yes.
So out of all the amazing guests that you've had, which was the biggest pinch me moment?
That's a great question. You guys have good questions.
Thank you. Thank you.
This.
That means a lot coming from you, Rob. We're trying to be like you, so that means a lot. So thank you.
Thank you. It's weird because some of the pinch me moments, I'm like friends with these people now, so it feels a little bit strange. Like the first time I met like Brian Collins, that was sort of like, meeting like Willy Wonka. It kind of felt like that a little bit. And now as a man who's like 34 years old and these are friends of mine, it feels a little bit like weird to like say that. But biggest pinch me moment, One of the coolest ones I had was maybe I'll give you guys. Can I give you a few? I have a few that are
Please.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, please.
I got to redeem myself here. Okay, so one of the craziest ones I ever had was, and this is sort of like how naive I was to the design world. Again, like sort of just like early. This was like early first year shots on net. So I knew about Paula Scher. I knew about like Pentagram, Emily Oberman, Eddie Opara, all these different guys and stuff like that, right? So like the who's who of the New York design, like SNL, all that type of shit. So Brian Collins actually told me to, make sure that you're also looking at the people who, you're sort of looking at like the diet code, like the young, like the newer generation, but there's another generation before that really led the way. So be sure to talk to those people. Mm-hmm. So I always love like the Beatles, Yellow Submarine. And again, shout out to the UK. And I love that kind of stuff. So Brian put me on to Seymour Quast. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Seymour Quast. I typed it in and I went there and I, again, like didn't even think about it, wrote him a message or whatever. I didn't realize like how much of like a legend he was at the time. And just for some context for the people that are listening, like that was the Pushpin studio. He worked with Milton Glaser and some of the most iconic psychedelic work of like the early like 1960s and 70s was from that studio. Some of the most like prolific work in design history. Like that's an international claim. And so I'm like, oh shit, okay, here we go. So I'm sitting in there, and so he's like, oh, okay, like I don't really do Zoom, but like you can come to my house or Skype. You can come to my house and you can interview me here. I'm like, all right, no problem. So he answers the door, and I'm like, oh, like hi, nice to meet you. And I'm like, damn, like this guy's like still out here like making money, and there because it was a beautiful like brownstone apartment or whatever, right? So we're having this conversation. It's going great. Just the salt of the earth. Such a nice guy. He's telling me about like working with like Milton Glaser and stuff. I'm like, yes, give me the good content. And I look on the wall and I see there's a whole bunch of pictures of like Paula Scher. I'm like, that's so weird. This guy's really obsessed with Paula Scher. It turns out they're married. They've been married like for like forever. And I'm like, I am in Paula Scher's living room right now conducting an interview with like one of the most dude, it was so crazy. I'm like, and he's talking to me. And all of a sudden I'm like looking around at like the mantle and all I see is like these Paula Scher pictures. I'm like, oh my God. And it dawns on me, oh my God, you're in Paula Scher's living room right now. And my ears were just like, that was like so crazy. I don't know if this translates to like the international audience, but like these are like, the end all be all, like I was at like the matriarch and the patriarch's house. Yeah.
Jesus Christ! If you don't know Paula Scher and you're a designer, then something's going on. You know what I mean?
Sure. So that was pretty crazy. That was definitely a pinch me moment of like, oh, I'm in way over my head. And you could actually, if you listen back, it was so early on, it was like so bad. You could actually hear me like lose my train of thought, and I just come back from the question, just like, anyway, so. That was pretty cool. I've had so many other ones, pinch me moments of great people I've worked with. Oh, Jeremiah Freites from the Lumineers, the piano player from the Lumineers. He left my podcast and then went and did Wrigley Field, sold out like Wrigley Field. He was in his green room, and we did that. That was pretty cool. I'm trying to think who else. Some really cool ones. It's all kind of slipping my mind a little bit. I have so many stories though. Like one time I was in the same room as like Mark Zuckerberg. I was at Facebook and I was like, what is going on? Like, what's happening? He's like, yo, shut the fuck up. Like Mark Zuckerberg's here. Like be normal. So that was crazy. That was, and Silicon Valley, if you've never been, it's like really, holy shit, it's intimidating. It's like going to like the Death Star. You know what I mean? You just feel like that scene in Star Wars where they're like coming into like the town. You're like, whoa, like we're not.
I've never been. Tell us more about that. So what took you there? You was going there for an interview, yeah?
I was there with Type Thursday. Shout out Type Thursday, Thomas Schock and all of them. They flew me out there and put me up in a nice hotel in San Francisco. And I'd always wanted to go back to California. And when I was a kid, I was there. And my friend Dion Baez, who is now, I believe, at SoundCloud. And then before that, he was at YouTube. And before that, he was at Facebook. And that was a pretty crazy experience to go there, because like Facebook in New York is not Facebook. Like, I'm sorry for anyone that thinks that, because I went to Facebook in New York and I was like, yo, I've been there. Like, I took a picture with like, I had the little like thumbs up magnet on my refrigerator and stuff like that. And in my mind, I was like, yeah, I made it. I've seen Facebook, I've seen, because I went to Google, so all these places in New York. And when I went out to California and I went to like Menlo Park, whatever it's called, Menlo Park, I always mess that up. But when I saw that and the data center just spanned from the sheer scale of everything is just so crazy. So that really was a pinch me moment, sort of being in the room where it happens. It's like you're always on Instagram, you're always like doing it, but like these are the head decision makers of like the most powerful company like in the United States, and you're here right now. It's just crazy. And I'm always like on an edible or something. I've always like, like hit like my deep end or something like that. Like I'm always like way too high. Like what the fuck am I doing? I don't even know where I am. On the one more quick story I'll give you guys if you guys have time. I don't want to like
please, Rob.
Yeah, go Rob. Go.
So I'm at I could do this. The rest of the podcast could be me just telling crazy. I think that I've done a terrible job of telling these stories. You know what? I'm gonna make this into, while I'm waiting for you guys until like next year to release this podcast, I'm gonna do a podcast where I talk about all the crazy and like sort of my life is very much so like the movie Forrest Gump. Like all of a sudden like Richard Nixon talks and he's just like right there. That's like been what this experience has been like. One of the craziest ones though, for sure, was I went to ESPN to interview Cesar Lopez, who is the head of at the time was the head of design at the X Games. I'm telling you, you boys are being too chill. You got to be fucking crazy. You got to be weird with it.
Yeah, nice.
Sorry about the cursing. And so my boy Caesar's mad cool, by the way. So it's in Bristol, Connecticut. But I'm thinking like it's in Connecticut. This is going to be some sort of like satellite office. And I had so many experiences of like, oh, I'm going to go there. Like for Sesame Street, I was like, I'm going to go there and I'm going to get like pictures on like this front steps of Sesame Street. But it's just like a corporate office. And you're like, oh, all right, well, that's cool. And then like you make the best of it. So I went to Bristol, Connecticut, and I'm thinking Connecticut, it's not going to be whatever. So I go there and there's this big satellite on top of like ESPN. I'm like, oh, that's pretty crazy. And then we're walking through the thing and he's showing me all these things of like Chad Muska and like Tony Hawk and like all this different shit. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so crazy. He goes, you want to see something really cool? And he takes out his phone like this and he shows me his phone. And he's like, yo, don't touch anything, but check this out. And it's the X Games, like the official ESPN X Games account. And it has like the business analytics and stuff like that. And it's like 7 million people viewed this. I'm like, oh, fuck, that's so crazy. So it gets crazier. So we start walking down this hallway. And the whole time, I think that I'm just at ESPN and it's whatever. And all of a sudden, Stephen A. Smith is walking with an assistant. And it's like walking past me. And I was like, was that Stephen A. Smith? He's like, yeah, like we're at ESPN. Like we're filming today. I was like, filming what? He goes, oh, you don't know. I was like, I don't know what. What are you talking about? He goes, look, there's a door and there's a little window like that, like this big, like that. He goes, stick your head in there and look in there and you'll see what it is. And I go and I look inside the window like that. I'm like looking around. They were recording SportsCenter and I was right there. I was on the other side of the door. Like they had like the little crane thing, like moving in. I accidentally ended up on the set of SportsCenter. Nice. And it was so crazy. I'm pretty sure it was Stephen A. Smith, but it was like one of the ones like you definitely know from ESPN, like with a clipboard with an assistant. Like, right. Okay. All right. Let's see dude, so crazy. I could go on for days about crazy stories. About that.
Nice. Rob, that's sick. It's great.
I need to butt in here. Rob, it sounds we always talk about like we try and get where water can't, but it sounds like you truly get into every single room that's like unimaginable to the human brain. And I really need to understand, like, are these all opportunities from the podcast or is it from other creative ventures? That's insane.
Yeah, from the podcast. I mean, I've had times where I've been like, you know what it is in the big unlock for this, and I know I did that whole big long self-indulgent rant before about intent and stuff like that, and that's all true. But what it is like, and I tell this is my biggest piece of advice for entry-level creatives that are coming into the field is like, and I'm sorry if that's one of your questions, is like, so many doors will open up for you if you just don't ask for a job. As a matter of fact, say that you don't want a job. Say, I'm not even interested in working here. I just want to go. I just want to see. But again, it's like, if people know that your intent is there, like you really can get in. And my friend John Contino, who I'm assuming you guys might know, John, he has this little Long Island accent. He's like, he has a phrase, and he told me early on, this was like early days of the podcast. He was like, all you got to do is ask. Sometimes all you got to do is ask. And you really do like just have to ask. Like the girl from Sesame Street got back like right away. And everyone's like, oh, well, like you have a podcast and like you've had people from like Handmaid's Tale and like Euphoria. And it's like people see that and that's why they say yes. As a matter of fact, and you can take this shit to the bank. This is facts. More people say no now that I am established than what they did when I was starting out. So if you're sitting there, like you said, like you're sitting on that idea, like, oh, well, like it's not, you know, if you build it, they will come and I haven't built it yet and I have to wait. It's like, that's all like internal, like pansy shit. Like get over that. Like no one's looking for you. No one is going to give you the opportunity. Like Cesar Lopez from like the X Games, he's now probably at other things. It's a while ago now, but he's not like, man, who could I give it? Like, just think about, like, it's so crazy because, like, the human ego is so crazy. Just picture it like this. No one is actively out there thinking, like, you know what? Like, I feel like I'm going to go on the internet right now and see which guys, like, you know, who's creating podcasts in the creative space, and I'm going to message them. Like, no one's doing that. Like, no one's looking for you. So, like, and the thing is, like, everyone checks everything all the time. Like, how many times a day do you check your DMs? How many times a day do you check your email? Like, if you send an email and they didn't get back, like, they saw it. Like, I could guarantee you they saw it. They may not be interested, but they saw it. And so few people are, like, willing to put that out there. But it's like, all you got to do is ask. And again, I always tell students, like, when I do, like, these workshops and stuff at these colleges, it's like, what do you think that, like, say it out loud. What do you think that, it's like the Socratic method. Just keep like questioning and questioning. What do you think that they're going to say? Like, really, what are they going to say? Like, hey, you know, we have this podcast. Like, what's your mom think? And like, it'd be cool if, you know, you could just come on. No one's going to be like, who do you think you are? This is Pentagram. How dare you send this email? Like, no one's ever going to do that. So like, once you get over that fear of that, like, I just, you know, try and put myself in cool, you know, what could I do to flex on people on Instagram and do dope shit today and go figure it out, you know? Yeah,
100%. I am fearless with that stuff. I'll speak to anyone. I'm not, but yeah, 100%.
And there's one more thing, like the industry is filled, like, and maybe myself included in some small capacity, but like the industry is filled with narcissists who love to talk about themselves. Like, hey, like, even if you don't want to do the podcast is almost making it more difficult to get those things. If you were to say, hey, could I, like, you know, I'm really enamored by you. Can I come to Facebook in New York and like just have lunch with you? I don't want anything. I just want to talk. Next thing you know, you're at Facebook and, you know, you're just in the room where it happens. So that's cool. You guys got me fired up, bro. I'm gonna be sending more emails after this.
Dude, it's great to hear. I have always been I love people. Do you know what I mean? I don't care if you're this. I'll treat the CEO like the person who cleans the bins. Like, I'm not.
Yeah.
There's no. I don't see how.
That's key. That's key.
I understand hierarchy. Obviously, I know who's my boss, but I'll treat everyone with the utmost respect, and I am not scared of approaching you for a conversation at all, bro. Do you know what I mean?
I saw that when you put your arm around Brian Collins. I was like, this kid doesn't give a fuck, man. That's crazy. I keep cursing. I'm so sorry. I've been out of corporate America for a long time. I apologize.
There was one time, Rob, and I wanted to say just after your Paula Scher story, because me and Christian have both been stood in a room with Paula Scher, both our arms around Paula Scher, having a picture with her because we love Paula Scher. Like, we've admired her for so long, and like both of us bottled it on asking her, "Do you want to be on the podcast, Paula?" Like, we didn't do it, and I fucking regret that. But what I did do,
from that though, Michael, from that once a week, I've never even queued up to meet my favorite rapper or anything, right? And we was at this typographic circle talk in London, and Paula had just presented the Public Theatre from over the years.
Circle, wow, you just blew my mind.
Amazing, do you know what I mean?
That's crazy.
So cool. So we stood there and whatever. Everyone was queuing up to me. I said, Michael, I've got to. Do you know what I mean? I've got to. We'll just go up to her. We'll just ask her about the podcast. So we both stood there in the queue. We got there, and it was just so like I was just so in awe of it. I was just like, right, go and take a quick picture. I said, Paula, I'm going to be in New York one day, and I said I'm going to bang on Pentagram's door.
And she was probably like, oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm yet to bump into it yet, but I'm sure I will at some point. But alternatively, when I went to listen to Michael Bierut speak at Nicer Tuesdays a couple of weeks ago,
right,
and he was getting swarmed by people after it, do you know what I mean? And
yeah.
I took a picture of him, I put it on my Instagram or whatever, and whatever. So I didn't even think it. I was like, if I do bump into him, I'd love to have a chat and maybe mention a podcast. So I've run outside and I've looked at my city map. I've run for the subway, and as I've run for the subway, my A train uptown comes in 5 minutes. I look up, Rob, and who's stood in front of me? Do you know what I mean? Fucking unbelievable,
with the big time,
bro. Yeah, literally, what fell out of my mouth. I went, "Fucking hell, Michael!" Do you know? And I was like, "Fucking hell." I said, "Hi." I said, "My name's Christian." Everyone calls me Sheps. I said, "Oh my god, I've just been to a sort of massive fan." You know what I mean? So which way are you going? He was going uptown to Grand Central.
Grand Central, going to Westchester.
Exactly. Yeah. I jumped on the subway with him, and I was like in the subway, and I was in my head on the subway, and I was like, right, I could either ask him for a selfie, or I could mention the podcast. I'm not doing both.
Yeah, can't do both.
Yeah. So we were talking, and he was telling me about, whatever, and he's telling me about his wife and things like that a little bit, just having a conversation. I was like, Rob, Michael, I was like, I have a podcast, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention this to you now. And like, I'd love for you to come on. I know you know Rob, and I met Rob not so long ago. I even name drop you.
Oh my God. Hoping it was a good response.
Oh no, he was like, yeah, of course, I love Rob, and he was like, yeah, I would love to do your podcast. He was like, I've got a mad couple of weeks and a mad couple of weeks over the next few through October. He's like, give me an email and what. So we're trying to align there and hopefully try and make it
for
work.
Sure.
But from what Michael said then a minute ago, I was like, I'm not letting this one slip. I'm asking. I'm doing the thing, So yeah.
Dude, I love that story. It makes me happy. It makes me happy that you said, "Oh, Rob Johnston." Oh, you didn't have one of those. And that's so funny that you say that. I remember you just took me back. I was at my grandparents' house. When I entered first, because I had Sean Adams. Did I think like Debbie Millman? And I remember like I was like drinking the night before, like heavy. I was in my grandparents' house. It was like everyone was in bed by like 7:30. I was like, let me just get trashed and just start sending emails. And I wrote Michael Bierut like this whole big long thing about like the book because How To had just come out. Yeah. That's another big thing too, like striking while the iron's hot on things like that. I got Paula Scher on the podcast because the Netflix thing had just come out. So nice. So it's like I'm sort of doing their PR person like a favor. Which, by the way, since we're oversharing here on the podcast, you told your vulnerable story, I'll tell mine. So I wanted to have Paula Scher back on the podcast because I was like doing sort of like revisiting some of those earlier episodes. I'm honestly just like trying to get a better take, sort of trying to bury the old ones so people would watch a new one. And I remember I accidentally messaged Paula's. I guess she had moved on from Pentagram or whatever, and she was like, and I just love this story so much. I'm sure she's fine, and I take full responsibility for the fact that I should have at the very least done a quick LinkedIn thing to make sure that she still works with them. But at the same time though, like whatever. She probably didn't work for the company for like a year or two, and I'm like, hey, can you get me an interview like with Paula? And she's just like, was in a mood. So she wrote me back, and she was like. By the way, I don't know exactly like full disclaimer, like what the relationship was, but she was somebody who worked on the team. Mm-hmm. And she was like, yeah, but I just can't, I don't work for Pentagram anymore, but I just can't help but wondering why would she want to talk to you again? And I was so pissed that I left it on red. And I have two levels. I have like, number one is like, I'm going to rip your head off. And even more mad than that is like, I'm not going to say anything and I'm going full blown spite mode. So right away, I just hopped on the internet. I was like, okay, I'm about to clock your shit. And I waited like a month or two because I didn't want to even give her the satisfaction of knowing that this was part of it too. But I was in the process of scheduling all these guests and stuff like that. And I did want to, full disclaimer, want to talk to Michael Bierut again because I love him. I think he's great. He's like the cutest man ever. I wish him the best retirement ever. So I did want to link up with him again. But I had that in the back of my mind, like, oh, why would Paula Scher want to talk to you? And you're going to deal with that a lot if you're like in these environments because it's like, it's just crazy, like bullshit. So I'm like, all right, no problem. So I rescheduled Michael Bierut. It was great. He was like, hey, Rob, like, so good to hear from you. Like, let's do this. Like, it's awesome. I'm not going to imitate how he talks, but he was like, I would love to do this. Let's do it. And it was such a great feeling to do that episode. And then the episode starts and he's like, Rob, so good to see you again. How are you, buddy? What's up? How is everything? How is the baby? I had to just like, with everything in my power, I had to be like, that's right. I wish that lady the best though. Whatever. I am, but again, like this is what I'm talking about. Like, and not to keep like, everything comes back to intent, right? Like, you know what I mean? I could have very easily like wrote her back and be like, listen, like check the stats or whatever. But but sometimes the universe kind of has a way of making things work out in a better way. So
Amazing.
yeah, that's a good story. Clip it.
Nah,
Clip
they're
that story.
great, bro. Thank you
I'm
so
gonna fucking
much,
email
Rob.
that girl.
Kill him all with success,
so
bro.
you saying it is really a third time. So him giving me flowers when you saw him at the train station going to Grand Central. That's a third time. So I'm gonna send her that too.
Yeah, love it. Listen, kill them all with success, brother. Kill them all with success. Love it. Right,
Yeah,
so
shout out Pentagram. I love Pentagram.
yeah,
this is not. I'm not trying to slander anybody here.
I've actually found myself there a couple of times. You know, the little events they put on Thursday nights. Once a month, I've been going to a good few of them. I've met a few people there recently. It's really cool to check out the spaces and things like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Amazing. Right, stage 4, the last stage. Looking back and looking forward for Rob Johnston. So looking back on everything you've done so far, what are you most proud of, Rob?
I think the thing that I'm most proud of is that, and I mean this sincerely, I know I've been kind of like all over the place today, but the thing that really, as it pertains to the podcast, I think would be helpful for this exercise is when I started this podcast, I felt very alone. There's a whole bunch of like, you know, I really, it's so funny. Everyone always sees like my like prolific social media output. It's constant. I'm here. I'm like, what's up? We out here doing all this different stuff. But about my personal life, I'm actually very private. It's funny. People think that like they're like, oh, like we know the whole thing. It's like, you're just seeing like this sort of like brand representation of like what I'm doing. But in my own personal life, and I always sort of like leave this offline because people are weird and people watch things and there's a whole bunch of like ops will share things, whatever. But like, I really always felt sort of like unsupported, and just like didn't exactly feel like I had that sort of support that I needed. You know, that so much of the validation chasing, and I saw this a lot with people I interviewed. A lot of people have like issues like with, you know, their parents or their family support systems or their friends or the naysayers or like the boomer Fox News uncle who's just like shitting on like what it is that you do. And I know you guys kind of talked about that on this podcast. I did, but the top line is like I just felt very alone. And in New York City, it's like it's so big, and you look up at like, you know, like these towering buildings, and you're like, how the fuck is this not working out yet? Like, how am I not? Like, what is wrong with me that I'm not able to like to do this sort of thing? And I just love that cutscene almost 10 years later. And it is 10 years when people say that. It's so funny. Like, you know, people always say, oh, like, what's the secret? The secret is patience. And it's like 10 years. When I look back now, like basically like 10 years into this thing, when people come up to me and say, hey, like, you don't know me, but your podcast, I was on a train one time. I got let go from a job. I had no money. I had to borrow money to go home. But like, I listened to that episode that you did with like the guy from like Euphoria. And it just like, gave me that sense of optimism to keep going and not quit the industry. You know, because it's like now I'm meeting people in person and like, you know, hearing you guys listen to the podcast is like really crazy. And to be able to make a difference in that way and to sort of, you know, you talked about, you're very thorough on this, but like you talked about like the mission statement, like Meet the Creatives seeks to bridge the gap between entry level creatives and the industry's best. It's like the fact that I'm able to actually do that and to provide a sense of optimism and to, you know, and I hear it from people. It's like, you just made me feel like I had a friend and you made me feel like I was like less alone. I know what I felt like then. I know. And again, it's like, it's not people's job to constantly validate you or whatever, but you know, it's a very scary, nerve-wracking thing. You know, I have this very like optimistic outlook on life, but this is, you know, we're not talking about getting a job working at you know, Chipotle. We're talking about getting a job at like, you know, putting yourselves out there in front of people who you idolize. Like, don't meet your hero, like you meeting Michael Bierut, you know, it's so easy for that to like go wrong. And then if it does go, and then if you have a moment like that and it does go wrong, or you meet someone and it doesn't do it, you know, that could really throw off like your mental for a long time. So for me, the most rewarding thing is meeting people that remind me of myself. You know, Christian, like even when I met you, like seeing you on like sort of just like bust through the doors of Collins and just take a seat next to Brian Collins. And, you know, I know that behind the facade, there's a little bit of nerves, a little bit of like, oh man, like, okay, like, you know, lock in, say this, okay, he said that, and sort of like moving and shaking on that. the fact that I'm able to facilitate these conversations and show people that like these people are just like you, they're no different than you or I. They're just like a really good skill set or whatever. But that really is rewarding for me. And the podcast started in 2017, and I really didn't even have any interactions with people who it wasn't until after COVID and after like Chris Do and coming back and doing those events in Williamsburg and stuff like that where I met these people. So to have people like gentlemen like yourself who are watching it, and I'm, the thesis is working, is so rewarding. And that really is my favorite part. So what started out as something that was sort of like spiteful and I'll show them, was sort of a way to find myself. And the fact that people are able to hear what I've said and that helps them to get a job or to have the courage to do it. I mean, there's people that have moved. This is actually crazy. I had one time somebody told me they moved from Vietnam to America because Meet the Creatives gave them the courage to know and to have these sort of like nuanced conversations, and heavy on the word nuance there. But that really is what it's all about. And once this baby is a little bit older and, I have a little bit more time and free hands, I want to grow this thing even bigger. So it's good. I actually was kind of thinking about quitting the podcast. And then once COVID started open and I started going to those events and stuff like that again, now I'm locked in. So that's good. Stay tuned.
Yeah,
Sesame Street episodes.
Yeah, no, that's great. And it is that, and it's something we've been conscious of going forward. I can't remember where it came from now, Michael, but doing it for the one listener, not the many listeners. And that if it's just one view you get and it changes that one viewer listener's life, like you've just said, then that is the thing that we're doing this for. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
and
inspired
it takes time. I mean, you guys are looking at I'm 34 years old. If you were to look at 10 years ago at 24. So if anyone hears it, it's like, that's the last, because when you're young, right? Like you're 24, it's like, that's the last thing you want to hear. It's like patience. It's like, hey, I can't pay my bills and I'm drowning in student loans and rent and my visa and all this different stuff like that. The last thing you want to hear is about patience. So it's like, but it's true that when it does take a long time, and it's like, the one thing I'd say is like, I've said the one thing I'd say like 17 times today, but the one thing I'd say is like, don't quit before your gift. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't stop before possibly the biggest thing ever. And it's like, there's never a point of like arrival. I really thought I would get to that point. I think arrival and doing that is just having, a sense of self-worth and confidence. And that has so much more to do with like therapy and mental health than it does with, InDesign grids. You know what I mean?
I love it.
Like,
yeah. The persistence of it, the persistence in it. Do you know what I mean? Finding that thing that you love, finding that thing you can put your all into. And I think consistency is obviously important, but I think more important than consistency is persistence and turning up on the days that you don't want to turn up on. And, for instance, with you now, Rob, do you know what I mean? You've had a little one, do you know what I mean? Your daughter's, going to take up maybe a year or two, whatever, but it's, you still coming back with that, being persistent, you know what I mean? When the time's right to then keep pushing, I think. It's amazing. And
also outside of all like this foo like shit that I'm saying, there's all like, so in life I pull from both sides. So it's like on the one hand, it's like be patient and be kind and like focus on your mental health. And it's like, it's okay that like, you don't have a great relationship, whatever, with like this, or that's one side of it, right? And on the other side of that, and this is from Gary Vee, by the way, I got this from Gary Vee, but it's so true though. And I think that successful people do this. So there's a term, a quote that I got from Greg Hahn from BBDO, which was now he's at Mischief. And he said, and this is the quote that for me personally, like outside of the podcast shit, for my own mental well-being, the quote that I live by is, and he got it from some self-help pamphlet, but it was, successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. One more time. So successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. So it's like, as I said before, on like this side, it's like, okay, it's like mental health, taking care of myself, going for like walks and stuff like, and on the other side of this is like, are you a savage or are you someone who's like a little fucking pansy who's going to give up on everything the moment that it gets hard? Are you someone who will weather the storm? Like, are you someone, for example, like that Paula Scher story? Are you someone who gets that email and then lets that girl define who you are? Or are you somebody who is like, takes a beat, picks himself back up, and then goes and does it and proves people wrong? It's like successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. It's like I'm up until like 2:30 in the morning sometimes, like creating content. It's like, are you like that? You know what I'm saying? It's like you have to like, you have to be kind to yourself, but at the same time though, it's like if you want to make it in this industry, you got to be locked in and just know that if you're not out there doing it, somebody else is. And it's not, I think people hear these things and it's like, it comes across as like sort of like rah motivational speeches. It's like, no, that's the truth. Like Brian Collins, I've mentioned him so many times in this podcast, and I don't know why. It's just like he's sort of like a good example, and he's a friend. I know that he wouldn't mind me mentioning it. It's the hardest working guy I know. He's working on vacation. He's working on this. He calls all the time. You know, like while you're on TikTok scrolling on your phone, Brian Collins is working his ass off on it with like 6 different people on a super intense Zoom call. It's like so many people like, oh, I want to work at Pentagram. I want to work at Collins. I want to work at all these different stuff. It's like your work ethic doesn't show that. And it's like there's no substitute. Like you can't read about doing push-ups. You actually have to be about it. So yes, take care of yourself, but also successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do.
You know what, Rob, lad? I think that's a great place to end this podcast.
Yes.
I want to finish it on that. That is great, and that is music to mine and Michael's ears. It's everything we're about. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what you're saying there now, it's now 12:33 in China. Michael, let's give you that real. Michael's sick as fuck. I'm swerving now. And to push through this podcast, honestly, everything. I love it. And if you're,
he looks good though. He looks good.
Yeah, he does. He carries it well, bro. Listen. If you're listening to this podcast and what Rob's just said's not lit you up inside, then there's something wrong with you. Eat off that. Everyone eat off what Rob said. Michael, close us out.
People do what unsuccessful people not want to do.
I love it. Michael, close us out, brother.
That was big. That was big, and it's bloody hell. Like, those two sides that you just spoke about, then Rob, is the constant battle in it. But the one that always wins is just get the fucking work done. That's what we have to do.
Let's go. Be a savage. Be a savage. Like leave like nothing on the table. Like when I went there last night, it's like again like successful. Like just to, and I don't want to like derail it again, but like I went to that event. It's like most people were just like, especially like Gen Z, y'all are soft. I don't even care. Like Gen Z is soft, dude. I went around that event last night. That thing that was on Broadway, that was like Major League. I went around and shook every person's hand. I left no stone unturned. You know what I mean? Like the average person, I'm like, that guy was a dick. I'm leaving. I shook everyone's hand. I kissed babies, and it was perfect. Speaking of babies, so Michael, go ahead. I'm sorry. I hear my wife's like,
I can hear his kicking off in the background. So just to finish us off now.
Yeah.
What's next for you? There's you just mentioned then as well about you or we can obviously hear your baby kicking off in the background, and I'm a father as well, so like I know
that's
the
awesome.
Additional pressure that adds on to all the other things that you have to juggle in life. But what's next for you? You know, we spoke about podcasting, we spoke about design, spoke about photography, we spoke about DJing. What's next for Rob Johnston?
I think more of the same, really, which is sort of a good feeling. I really have had a lot of success with the private event and wedding industry. That's really rewarding and fun for me and stuff like that. And it's been kind of that in and of itself has really been sort of liberating to be like, oh, I don't always have to be like design guy, or I don't have to be like this thing, or I could be multiple things. And I had a good conversation with my friend Rob about that recently, about like he says on social media, like you're all over the place, but like it all makes sense. It's all in the vein of creativity. So as long as I'm creative and as long as I'm having fun and putting myself out there, I definitely want to do more live events. But that said, they're like a real like logistical challenge. I think that, Caroline and Izzy, I think could really speak to that, about how difficult that is to sort of put those things together. They look really great, but they're kind of a pain. So I'm kind of just navigating early fatherhood. I love my daughter Belle so much, and it's been really rewarding and great to be able to do that. I think for the podcast, having a guest from Sesame Street is going to be really sort of fun to do, and I sort of feel like it's weird when you have a kid, and Michael, maybe you can relate to this. You sort of like unlock like a new level of life. I'm now in like, the kid section or whatever. So I'm sort of keen on the idea of doing some stuff like that because
Nice.
I think it's an interesting design challenge, like like Sesame Street. Like for example, like in preparation for the podcast, I was researching that the visual design language of Sesame Street. It was meant to be in a city, but the reason that they originally did that was because inner city kids like didn't have representations on TV. There was all this sort of like the Brady Bunch and suburban life and stuff like that, but kids didn't really have that.
That's it. Yeah.
So I find it sort of fascinating, children's television, and I've always been sort of enamored by like for whatever reason, like Mr. Rogers. I like Mr. Rogers before the train goes around to the other side. It gets weird. Then it gets really creepy on the other side of the wall. But like when he's like, "It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood." That's why I aspire to be like.
Listen, you kill me.
I know. So we'll do that. We'll do some fun. I want to have like, somebody who's like a videographer for like Miss Rachel or something, like the editor for like Miss Rachel. That's it. One last thing I'll give out. Sorry, I know you're not asking for this, but like also go like you may not get like Miss Rachel, but you can get like the director. You know what I'm saying? Like always go like one below.
The relationship,
and then
the
people come to your
relationships
Instagram and they're like, Miss Rachel's on your Instagram. I'm like, this is Miss Rachel. It's like close. Yeah, her photographer.
Inside perspectives as well. Listen, Rob, I'm so grateful to have met you, and like I said, from listening to your podcast to meeting you being on our podcast, I can't thank you enough in it.
Can we get the
Hi, Belle. Hi.
Bring her in.
Let me see.
Yeah, let's go.
Hi, Belle. Hi. Oh, look at you.
Hello.
Hi. What does the baby think? Oh, look at your little face.
That's a nice twist.
This is
I'm Command Shift 4 in this. Stand by. Hold on.
And it's the first baby that's ever made appearance. The mother's the creator of all. Do you know what I mean? This is the product from all mums worldwide, globally. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, exactly. Wait, one more time. I'm taking a screenshot.
Mwah.
Here we go.
Oh, look at her. All the love, Rob. Listen, what a blessing. Sick, bro.
Right.
Listen, I'm sure I'll see you very, 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 very soon.
Yes, I will. Let's link up. And Michael, I would love to talk offline and learn more about China because I think I'm gonna be fucking moving there with the way that things are going in America.
Yeah, man. Let's catch up about that. And whenever I end up in New York, hopefully sometime
did he
soon,
freeze?
I'll drop by.
Okay, no, we're good.
Yeah.
All right, that sounds good. All right, boys.
Rob. Big love.
Send me the audio. Big love, baby.
Big love.
Wait, what was the team, by the way? Was it
so
Manchester? You said? Was it
Manny? Yeah, Manchester, bro. Manchester.
All right, Godspeed, boys.
Love.
Bye.